Hi, my name is Matt, and today I'd like to show you a comparison of a couple of Gretsch Duo Jets, specifically one made in 2001 prior to Fender taking over manufacture and production of the model, and one made after that. This is not an exact comparison. I would say it's apples to apples because they're both Duo Jets, but it's a Granny Smith to a Red Delicious. Specifically, there are some differences between these two guitars that don't make them identical. First, a little background. Gretsch is an old company with a long tradition of making fine guitars. Unfortunately, during the late 60s and early 70s, they were taken over by the Baldwin Company, and their quality generally is thought to have diminished. In the 1980s, Fred Gretsch III reacquired the company, did some really great work in reestablishing the product line for quality as well as for recognition. However, in 2003, he then passed the manufacturing and marketing responsibilities on to Fender. It is generally considered that the current production models under Fender are as good or better than any Gretsch ever made. The years of production immediately prior to the 2003 acquisition are not generally thought of as bad years, far better than the Baldwin years, but they're not as highly regarded. I have the pleasure of owning two Gretsch Duo Jets, one made in 2001 prior to Fender years, and one made in 2004. And so I thought it'd be helpful to folks who are in the market for these items or who are just generally interested in Gretches to have a little comparison. So let's first talk about the similarities. These are both made in Japan Gretsch Duo Jets. We have here a 2001 Gretsch Duo Jets, Filtertron pickups. This is the Pre Fender model. And then this is my 2004 Gretsch Duo Jet, also with Filtertron pickups, the post Fender model. There are some insignificant differences, but again, these make it so it's not apples to apples. For example, the Pre Fender model has what are called block and hump fret markers rather than the neoclassic thumbnail one. In the literature, the idea behind the smaller fret markers was more contact between the string and the ebony fretboard to increase tone. Whether that matters or not, I can't say. I will tell you that there are a number of Duo Jet models, even made under the Fender production, that do have the hump and block. The other differences in these are that the Pre Fender is a model with a tone knob. Gretches generally have a master volume knob, pickup volume knobs, and then either a tone knob or a tone switch. This is a tone knob, like you would see on a Gibson or a Fender or any other, generally any other make of electric guitar. The post Fender model has the same volumes, but then it has a tone switch, sometimes called a mud switch. It's just a different way of approaching it. Some people like it, some people don't. The tailpiece, obviously. I've got the G tailpiece on the post Fender Gretsch, and on the Pre Fender Duo Jet, we have a Bigsby vibrato. And so that is a difference as well. And let's talk about other differences. Some of these are more meaningful than others. Just from the top down, you can see that the headstocks are different in shape. During the Pre Fender years, there was a wider headstock used. It's even wider than what you'd see on a Gibson. These were seen on some vintage Gretches, but not on the Duo Jets. The Duo Jets had the thin headstock, like you see on the post Fender. So this is a little bit more vintage correct. Probably of no real significance is the fawn headstock. You can see here that There's one font on here on the Pre Fender, a slightly different font. Look at the shape of the G on the Post Fender. Tuners are different. The Pre Fender Gretsch has an enclosed tuner, almost like a Grover. The Post Fender goes back to the open back tuners that are, again, more vintage correct. The necks are different, and I don't know if you can see it in this light. The Pre Fender neck has a stripe down the middle. I believe it's 2 pieces of mahogany, whereas the Post Fender is 1 piece. Also, the neck profile is different, and you can't see it, and I'm not sure I could describe it. I think the Post Fender neck is a little bit, it fills the hand a little bit more like maybe a D profile, whereas the Pre Fender is more like a C profile, a little bit flatter. The heel, as you can see on the Post Fender, you have a little white accent on the heel, whereas on the Pre Fender there is none. Something else you can see is, or you can't see, is that the weight is different. The Pre Fender Gretsch is significantly heavier, probably about 1 pound heavier with the vibrato. Without the vibrato, it's probably about 12 ounces heavier in body weight than the Pre Fender. The input jacks are different. You can see here, it's almost like a Telecaster's sunken in input jack on the Post Fender. Pre Fender is flush. If you use an L-shaped patch cord, then you might have some problems with this recessed jack. And finally, as you'll note from the earlier pictures of the back, the wood tone is slightly different. As I said, these are both Filtertrons, but they're the Filtertron pickups on the Gretsch guitars Pre Fender were manufactured slightly different than the Post Fender. And so what I'd like to do is give you a little sound comparison. I'm playing straight in through a Fender Pro Junior. Volume's turned up to 4, the tone is turned up to 5. And let me just give you some sound samples here. I'm going to play with the volume and tone full out so that you can get a fair comparison of these. First, the Pre Fender. We got the bridge pickup on. Compare that bridge pickup tone full out, which would be the middle mud switch position on the Post Fender. Let's try neck pickup only, again on the Post Fender, tone straight out. And neck pickup only on the Pre Fender. Both pickups. And then also on the Pre Fender.